Just two poems by Cavafy this time. The first is Eurion's tomb. A somewhat elaborate tomb of syenite, a crystalline rock, sparkling like granite, covers the beautiful Eurion. Lilies and violets overgrow the stone. Eurion the Alexandrian died at 25. His father Macedonian, magistrates on his mother's side. He read philosophy with Aristokleitos, rhetoric with Paros. At Thebes he studied scripture. He wrote a provincial history, extant still. But we have lost and mourn, more precious than all else, his radiant human form, so Apolline. The next poem, number 45, is called Chandelier, and it's a very odd and very impressive poem, I think. What it describes is something very simple. The writer of the poem is in a bare room with a large chandelier burning on the ceiling. That's all there is, just this empty room with a chandelier. We could almost discount the poet and just concentrate on the room and the chandelier, because we don't know for sure that there is actually a watcher. It is just a pure description. But I imagine Cavafy must somewhere in Alexandria have been in a similar room with a chandelier burning in it, and I imagine he probably sat there looking at this thing, and it came back to him later as this poem. Edmund Keeley, in his book Cavafy's Alexandria, has this to say about it. He talks of the sensual fever of Chandelier, the latter an interesting poem because it offers a very early, if impersonal, reference to the passionate longing that has its source in lust that isn't for timid bodies, though the poet didn't allow this first celebration of daring lust to appear in print until 19 years after it was written. That is, until the true context of his eroticism had already begun to manifest itself in other published poems. So Edmund Keeley presumably sees this poem as a depiction of naked eroticism, the burning of the lamps being an illustration of pure lust. I don't see it that way, but never mind. Last year we had a new translation of Cavafy's poems by the Greek man Evangelos Shashperoglu, if I've said that right, Evangelos Shashperoglu. His translation of Chandelier is a very good one, which I'll read for you. In a chamber empty and small, 4 walls only, and draped with lengths of bright green cloth, a lovely chandelier shines and glows, and in its every single flame, simmering, grows a lustful passion, a lustful urge. Within the small chamber, that gleams a light from the fiery heat of the chandelier, what emerges is no ordinary light. It is not made for timid bodies, the sensual rapture of this heat. So Mr. Shashparoglu seems also to see it as a purely erotic or sensual phenomenon. I see it differently from that. And my translation is slightly different. I see this as one of those strange eruptions into everyday life of something which we can hardly explain. If Cavafy were a mystic, which he isn't, I would almost be inclined to see this as some sort of mystic vision. The chandelier even being an evocation of that ultimate thing which we give different names to, one of them being God, but which I see as far more deeply interfused, as the poet says, throughout our lives. It may be it is actually an image of life itself, and I don't just mean human life, I mean all life. So I've translated the poem in a much simpler fashion, and not so much emphasis on the sexual side of it. This is my translation. An empty room, 4 walls covered with plain green cloth. In the midst a burning chandelier, each brilliant flame an intense sensual urge. In that vacant room the heat and light multiplied, reflected, flaring down. No timid body could humanly withstand this conflagration, this hugely magnified libido. I don't know if I give the full sense of what I imagine the poem means there, but I've tried to tone down the sensuality of it and make it more into this huge symbol of life itself, of which of course sensuality is a part, but only a part. So I see the chandelier as a symbol of even the creative urge, I suppose, in its most objective form. That's my idea anyway.